You know, I'm not a medical cannabis patient myself. I don't know what that would be. I don't think our department has any idea what the average life, the active life of it is, and maybe it depends on what it's in. It's just really hard for us to know that. I think, you know, the question is, can you voluntarily do something like that? And it sounds like you wouldn't. Would you be happy, I mean, with a voluntary system, or do you think it needs to be in regulation?
I think it would be better to be regulated.
See, we can't be able to decide when it starts. We don't have the technical knowledge to know that.
Yeah, we really just don't know enough about this, about how long it stays active. And we don't know enough about it.
It'd be great if everyone put that on, and then they can do it themselves. But I don't think we can say that's a proper expiration date.
We just don't have enough scientific data to know what's appropriate for how long an ingredient, how long it's active.
Well, the reason I was bringing that up was that if you don't end up having an expiration date, then the liability falls back on the MCD or instead of the person actually producing the vape with. So, I mean, I just put that out there for you, something for you guys to think about.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we do something. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for having this meeting and hearing and everything. On the baked good issue, there are some very important things to consider when you're dealing with weight. You're not dealing with food weight, you're dealing with the weight of the individual cannabis. The way we used to do it at 350 to Visadero was kind of similar to what you have in mind. What we did was by dosage, and then people understood by if it was one individual dose per package, and if it was regular, medium, or heavy dose, then it could be like 1 gram to 1.5 grams is light, 1.5 to 2 grams is medium, 2.5 to 3 on up is considered heavy or high dose. Another thing to consider, what we did in order to help with freshness, in some cases we could do a freshness date, in other ways we couldn't figure it out. But what we always had them do was put a manufacturing date on the label.
I have an idea in regard to the packaging on edibles labels. I run a very small commune that is not registered as an MCD yet, and we will be in a few months. We have one member of our collective who makes brownies and tea for the other members of our collective. And I have been making my own labels and packaging her products up as best I can. So I want to repeat the request from the previous speaker that we be allowed to submit our packaging labels to you before we issue them. And if you can give us a contact, one of you perhaps, that would be really helpful. The hard part for my little collective is going to be finding opaque packaging. We've been putting them in regular little baggies and inserting a label either on top of the package or in with the brownies. And that messes up the label, of course. That's not a recommended procedure. So the hard part for me is figuring out where to go to get packaging that is opaque for the brownies.
Yeah.
Any ideas? I mean, do I go to Flax's Art Supplies, or I don't know where to get them?
Foil. Foil.
So think on that one. And the date of manufacture is a better idea, Randy, than an expiration date, because even the manufacturer doesn't know the expiration date.
Hi, my name's Mike Hardesty, and I was curious on reading the dose unit. What's your guys' position on what is a dose unit?
Let me just, really quickly, when this thing first hit, we didn't know anything about anything. We had a meeting we only had like a few applicants at the time where we needed to come up with these things. So we had a meeting, and it was determined at that meeting, I think some people in this room might have been there, that 1 gram was what was used. And it was just we didn't pick a number. We didn't start something. I'm new to it. Okay. Just listen to what people said. So that was it.
Okay, I was just curious on that technicality. Now, what I've run across is somewhere in some of these regulations I read that they only consider the dried flower of the plant when weighing it. And typically what they're using to make the baked products isn't the dried flower, it's the leaf. So now we're talking about, you know, you can only have an ounce, you can only purchase an ounce of dried flower, but then you're trying to subtract leaf matter from that. And the leaf matter is considerably less potent than the actual flower. And then there's variances of potency between different flowers. You know, one plant will be extremely potent, another plant will be quite, you know, not so potent. So I'm just curious about the variation. You know, it's more of just a kind of a question.
Yeah, we went by the definition here in the ordinance. So it just, you know, it does seem to exempt the mature stalks of the plant.